what he wanted?
Okay. So Parshat Yitro begins with another famous incident. We all know Yitro is who? Yitro is the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu married Tzipporah. Tzipporah's father is Yitro.
And he was one of the...
So it says, yes, it was one of the advisors of Pharaoh. The pasuk says as follows. Look in the first pasuk in Parshat Yitro. It says, "Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midian Choten Moshe." And Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, heard. What did he hear? Et kol asher asa Elohim le Moshe. Everything that Hashem did for Moshe, O Yisrael Amo, and the Jewish nation. Ki hotzi Hashem et Yisrael miMitzrayim. Hashem took them out of Mitzrayim. Look down in Rashi. First Rashi in the parasha. Vayishma Yitro. Ma shomea. What did he hear? Ma shomea shema uva. What did he hear and come? Well, he heard these things. He heard Kriyat Yamsuf u'Milchamat Amalek. He heard the splitting of the sea and the war of Amalek. The splitting of the sea, we all know. We were standing at the sea, and we got a little scared. We didn't know what was happening. The next thing we know, we got saved. The sea split in 12 different lanes, and we walked through it in a semicircle. And Amalek, we know the Jews started being lax in Torah observance, in learning Torah. So Hashem sent Amalek, and we won them. And Yitro heard this, and he came. So the question is, why did Yitro come at this point? Why didn't he come right after Kriyat Yamsuf?
Why doesn't it come before?
Why doesn't it come before Amalek? Let's say Kriyat Yamsuf, they split the sea, the biggest miracle, right? So let Yitro come at this point. Why does he come after the war of Amalek? He must have seen something that made him come at this time. So Elio Lapion explains as follows. Yes. He explains as follows. He says, Yitro originally saw all the miracles like everybody else. And he was in very much awe of it. He was like, wow, these are big miracles. But he stayed home. Because he thought the miracles are going to affect him at his house. He's going to be home, he sees the miracles, and he's going to be affected. But then he saw that Amalek came. Amalek also saw all the miracles. And what happened to them? They went and they started fighting. So he said, unless you go and join the Jewish people and be a part of them, everything you see won't help you. You won't become closer to God just by seeing it. You have to come and join it. Because Amalek also saw, and they went in the completely opposite direction. So therefore, he heard Kriyat Yamsuf. So he already wants to join the Jewish nation. He says, I'll stay home. I'll join them from my house. Then he saw what Amalek did. He says, oh, if they heard and saw and they did this, I cannot let myself stay here because I might do the same thing. So he went and he joined the Jewish nation. Now, we just said he heard about Kriyat Yamsuf and he heard about Amalek. Yitro, the pasuk says further, Yitro arrives in the camp. Vayavo Yitro Choten Moshe. And Yitro comes to the camp, him, his, Moshe Rabbeinu's children, his wife. And he tells Moshe, come out to meet us. And Moshe comes. Moshe starts walking towards his father-in-law. Moshe starts walking. Who follows him? Aharon. Aharon starts walking. Who follows him? His children, right? His children start walking. Who follows him? The Zekinim, all the old people, all the elders. Everyone sees all the rabbis walking out, so the whole Yisrael, all Bnei Yisrael, start walking out to Yitro as well. And they get the big kavod they gave Yitro. And the pasuk says that it says in pasuk Zayin, "V'yetzem Moshe dekachoteno v'yishtahu v'yishaklo." He bowed down to him, he kissed him. V'yishalu ish l'reil l'shalom. They asked how you're doing. And the pasuk says, "Vayavohu ha'ohela," and he brought him to the tent. This is the pasuk that's hard to understand. Listen to the next pasuk. Vaysaper Moshe lechoteno. So then Moshe began telling his father-in-law the story. Et kol asher asa Hashem leFaro Mitzrayim. Al adot Yisrael kol tzal Hashem mitzatam b'derech v'yitzilem Hashem. Moshe starts saying all the story that happened from when they left Egypt and Amalek and everything again to Yitro. The question is,
the beginning is still Yishma Yitro.
Yishma Yitro. Yitro already heard everything. That's why he came. So why is Moshe Rabbeinu telling him the whole story all over again? Yitro should be saying, hey, I know everything already. Don't tell me. That's why I came. Why are you telling me all the whole story over again? Right? It's hard to understand. If you ever look at the parsha, you just read it, you don't see it. If you start analyzing the parsha, something doesn't make sense here. It says Yitro heard everything. That's why he came. Then Moshe Rabbeinu says, come with me to the tent. And he tells him the whole story over again. So to explain this concept, we're going to have two explanations for it. The first explanation is brought down from Harav Mordechai Gifter, the former Rosh Yeshiva of Telz, Cleveland. But Mordechai Gifter, he says, look, you have to pay attention to the pasuk. The pasuk says, right before he says Moshe Rabbeinu starts saying over the whole story, where does it say Moshe took his father-in-law? It says, Vayavo'u, and they came, right over here, right? Vayavo'u ha'ohela, and they came to the tent. Do you know what the tent is? Remember we had in Parshat Toledot, it says, Vayakov ishtam yoshev ohalim. What is it, ohalim? He was sitting in Torah, he was sitting in Yeshiva, he was sitting in Bet Midrash. So where did he take him? Vayavo ha'ohela, and he took him to the tent. Which tent he took him to? He took him to the Yeshiva. He took him to the Bet Midrash. Why did he take him to the Bet Midrash? To tell him the story in the Bet Midrash? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was telling his father-in-law, although you heard what you think you heard, if you did not hear it from a Torah perspective, from the eyes of the Chachamim, then what you heard was nothing. A person picks up a newspaper and he reads all sorts of reports. This happened there, that happened this happened that, and he reads that and he makes his own ideas and he formulates his own opinions. But in everything that happens in the world, there's a message from Hashem being sent. And unless you're looking at it from the Torah's viewpoint, and from a rabbi who knows his stuff explaining what's happening in current events or in history, you're going to get a whole wrong story. Right? Like they say about the Holocaust. They say, historians bring down, why did the Holocaust happen? You know, it's a very bad thing that happened, very tragic. The Holocaust explain it on the currency of the German dollars. The currency went really down, so they needed a scapegoat. They needed to blame somebody about why the economy wasn't good. So they blamed the Jews, and the Holocaust happened. That's the way historians explain the Holocaust. And how do Jewish people and our rabbis explain the Holocaust? It wasn't an economy. There was a lot of sins that were happening. There was a lot of problems, reformism that started in Germany, and all these other different averot that added up, and that's why the Holocaust started. And that's why this happened, that's why that happened. There's a Torah perspective on everything. If a person just thinks things happen like that, he doesn't get it from the Torah perspective. So Moshe Rabbeinu took Yitro, he took him to the Beit Midrash, he says, listen, I'll tell you the whole story over again, and this time you're going to learn it the correct way. You're going to learn it from the Torah perspective. And we see this not only here, but we see this throughout the entire Torah. Torah begins, Adam HaRishon, right? Parsha Bereshit. What's the second Parsha? Noah. How many generations between Adam to Noah? 10. How many does the Torah talk about? None. Adam, Noah. What happened to the whole other 9 generations in between? Right? There's nothing significant to learn from them. Therefore, it doesn't bring it down. The Torah teaches how to look at history. When the Gemara brings down about Chanukah, it brings down 1 page. That's it. Very little about Chanukah. Right? In Chanukah you had, if you go through history, there was Antiochus number 1, Antiochus number 2, there was the army here, there was an army there, there was here, there was there. And the Gemara doesn't talk about it. And Jewish people don't talk about it. And we don't go into so much history. Because our point is not the history. Our point is the lessons that we learn from it. What it was that we were weak, we didn't learn Torah, we had problems, and then we changed, we got everything back. That's what we're trying to learn. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu says, Yitro, I know you heard about the sea splitting in 12. Now let me explain you why 12. And everything, he explained why Amalek came. Not because just like that, because Hashem sent them, we weren't learning Torah. He went and explained to him the significance behind the events that happened from Yetziat Mitzrayim. Another explanation on this, why Moshe Rabbeinu was telling Yitro the whole story over again, I said as follows. Yitro is a spectator, right? He's watching what's happening. What does Yitro see? He sees the Jews crossing through the Kriyat Yam Suf, right? They're going through the Yam Suf. That's what he sees.
Oh, you saw it?
He sees Amalek being defeated by the Jews. But Moshe Rabbeinu told Yitro, don't think Judaism is all fun and games. And it's all miracles. And we're always defeating everybody. Because you should know, the sea didn't just split like that. We were standing at the sea and we had no idea that that sea was going to split. We were scared. We were praying. Half of us said, let's go back to Mitzrayim. Half of us said, let's drop dead. Half of us said, let's fight. We had all these different opinions. We didn't know what was happening. Then, and only then, Hashem saved us. So don't think it's all miracles. That you're going to join the Jewish nation. You just walk through a sea. You win this guy, you win that guy. Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, it's not that way. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you know what? Amalek came. Amalek came because Hashem sent him. He says, what? Yeah. He said, Hashem sent him because we weren't learning Torah. Don't think Hashem just always so good to us. And always, no. If we're not good, He's going to punish us. Torah and Judaism is not just fun and games, He was teaching Yitro. Therefore, you had to tell him it all over. Don't think you heard just a miracle. There was something that happened before the miracle. And to this, Rabbi Yonah Mansour says you learn a very big lesson from this. He says, what lesson you learn from this? He says, a very important lesson for parents and children and everyone alike. He says, especially for parents. He says, nowadays we have a very big thing, and it's a good thing, he says, we give self-confidence to kids. And we tell them, you're going to be great, and you're special, and you're good, and you're strong, and you're smart. Right? And then they finally go to school, and they get an 80, and his friend gets a 95. And he comes home, Dad, I'm not so smart. Right? So he says you have to teach them realism. Practicality as well. You have to build up their confidence. And you're smart, and you're good as you are. And we're happy how you are, but we want you to learn more and more. But you teach them that they don't always have to win every game. And then you won't have any sore losers. Huh? It's not fair, you know? They'll be able to say, it's okay if I don't win. My sister, when she was working in a school in Flatbush, this Syrian Bet Yaakov they had there, she was working there. She said one day something very interesting happened to her. They were playing in the class. It was a 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. They were playing a game, and one girl lost. So instead of what most kids would do, it's not fair, they start crying, I want to stay in. The girl said these words, it's okay, you don't win every time. 4-year-old said those words. That's parenting. To teach them that you're not always going to win. And you're not going to always get everything.
Understood, guys?
And sometimes things won't work out. And sometimes things are difficult. Look, in Judaism as well. You could be a religious man. Hashem makes it not so easy for you. You don't have enough money, you're collecting, you're praying, something at home. One has a kid like this, one has a kid like that. And people have tzarot, people have problems. And it doesn't mean you don't believe in Hashem. And it doesn't mean that things are not going to be better. A person has to understand that there is problems in the world. And that when they were standing at the sea, there was no miracle yet. They were not sure what was happening. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching Yitro. Don't think Judaism is all miracles and all fun and games and we're going to be walking through and winning and doing all good. No! There are times that things are going to be tough. Before the miracle, there's always tough stuff happening. So these two concepts explain why Moshe Rabbeinu had to repeat the stories of Mitzrayim. So now that explains why it says V'yishma Yitro, Yitro heard everything, and Moshe Rabbeinu, V'yisaper lo, he told him everything over. At the when Yitro hears all these stories, it says that Yitro, he gave thanks. First he said Baruch Hashem, he said thank God, right, that He saved you. And then it says in the last pasuk before Sheni, it says he took up all sorts of korbanot to Hashem, and then he took up korbanot to Hashem. And then what happened? Vayavo Aharon, and Aaron came, v'chol zeknei Yisrael, all the elders of Israel, le'echol lechem, to eat bread, im choten Moshe lifnei Elohim, to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe in front of God. We're going to go now to the Sefer Aleinu L'Shabeach by Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein. He says as follows: Yitro he's a goy. Right? He was a goy, he became a ger. But goyim are under the impression that in order to be religious and close to God, it only comes through fasting and staying away from pleasures of the world. That's the way goyim look at it. You want to be a religious man? You want to be special? That means you can't eat. You have to go fast every day. You cannot have a fancy house. You cannot have good stuff. You can't drive a car. Everything has to be limiting yourself. But Aharon and the elders of the Jews, right? They knew differently. They understood that as Sudah mitzvah, when you have food and Torah is spoken at that, or you have a special occasion, for example, a brit. When you have a brit, right after you're supposed to have the seudah, not 10 days later, not at the night, right after the brit milah. Because that's the Sudah mitzvah. Bar mitzvah, the boy gets bar mitzvah, that day is a Sudah mitzvah. Purim, you have a Sudah, that's Sudah mitzvah. Shabbat, every meal, you can make Sudah mitzvah, you say the Torah. In fact, when a person speaks Sudah mitzvah, he speaks at a meal, he speaks words of Torah, he brings it as a korban to Hashem by eating, by enjoying physical pleasures, he brings it up to God. The Talmud, Berachot, Samach Daled, says as follows. Rav Avin said, anyone who enjoys a meal with a Talmid Chacham, Talmid Chacham is at the same meal as him, it's as if he enjoyed from the Shekhinah. As if he ate from the Shekhinah. Any day. Well, the meals of unlearned people lead to destruction of the body and the soul. When you eat with people that are not Talmidei Chachamim, the talk on the table becomes about Lashon Hara, if that only. And then you have so many other stuff that come up there. But when a person speaks with the Talmid Chacham at his table, it provides nourishment for his body. He gets food for the body, and he gets food for the soul. Partaking of this type of meal is as making a korban. Yitro, he came and he brought korbanot to Hashem, right? And everything, Olah goes straight up to God. Aaron and Zeknei Yisrael came and said, now let's make a different korban. Let's show you the other side of Judaism, that you can eat and still make it. That's why they say Purim is greater than Yom Kippur. That's why it's Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippur is like Purim. Why? Yom Kippur you fast, but Purim you eat. Purim is even higher than Yom Kippur because on that day you bring the physical and the spiritual together. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, if three have eaten at the same table and have spoken words of Torah, and as if they have eaten from the table of Hashem. If you spoke Torah, if you don't spoke Torah, and three people ate, it's as if you ate from idol worshippers. Any day, not just Shabbat. Every time you eat a meal. If you eat meal by yourself, you should learn something. If you eat meal with two people, at least say something. This following story that we're going to read illustrates how a person can convert food into a vehicle which performs many more mitzvot. During the Holocaust, Rav Yaakov Galinsky, who you mentioned a lot of times in our stories, was exiled to Siberia. He was captured by the Russians and he was sent to the lagers, not camp, but gulags in Siberia. At one point, the Siberian officers decided to punish him for 40 days. No food for 40 days. A little bit to drink every day, but no food. At the end of his 40-day period of starvation, they gave him a big bowl of hot soup. When Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky got the soup, he was about to eat it. And sitting next to him was another Jew who is in his own 40 days of starvation now. And Rav Yaakov was so hungry, he started to eat it. And then, in his head, he was talking to himself and said, Yaakov, Yaakov, how can you eat alone when there's a starving Jew right next to you? Right away, he decided to share some of the hot soup with this other Jew. And he asked this other Jew, what's your name? And this man says, my name is Cholev. What's his name? Cholev. They ate it, and that was it. He didn't see him for many, many more years. Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky now is living in Eretz Yisrael. At this time, the Jews of Arab land all the Sephardic Jews were coming to Eretz Yisrael. Now, Israel, as though we're very happy we have in Israel, you should understand, the government is not pro-religion. It's not following the way of the Torah. In fact, they want everybody to go against the Torah. If you work on Shabbat, they pay you double there. When the Jews of Arab lands came, the Sephardic Jews came to Eretz Yisrael, and a lot of people, they put them in camps. They put them in these camps, sort of get them used to Israeli culture before they send them out. But the real point of it was to take away the little Judaism that these Jews had. We know the Yemenites, when they ended up in these camps, they cut off their peyot. They told them that you don't have to be Jewish anymore. You don't have to walk around with a kippah. They did all these things there.
They told them that they're Mashiach.
And at that time, Rav Yaakov Galinsky was instructed by the Chazon Ish to get into those camps, those camps and find Jews who want to learn Torah, and we'll give them support. Now, Rav Yaakov Galinsky and another Talmid Chacham, they go to this camp and they see, it's fenced all around. They can't get in, so they come back to the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says, I don't care, make a tunnel from underneath and get in. So the next night they go back and they dig a tunnel and they come up into the camp. They start walking around and talking to people about learning Torah. And at that time, 3 officers who were guarding the camp come out. Now these officers are European secular Jews. And they see these 2 Ashkenaz rabbis there. So they tell these Ashkenaz rabbis in Yiddish, you have to leave. So at that time, Rav Yaakov Galinsky writes that him and the other Talmid Chacham maybe they don't understand Yiddish. They started talking in Hebrew. What? They didn't understand. They made themselves all confused. And one of the guards said, listen, Cholev is going to come now. And he's going to punish all of you. You're not going to be able to go. We're going to give you over to the police. And Rav Galinsky says, Cholev, I know that name from somewhere. We're not going. So they call Cholev, and they call him. He's the biggest officer at that site. He comes out. Rav Galinsky sees him, and he sees Rav Galinsky, and they start hugging. And Yaakov says, you remember me? He says, yes, you're the man who shared the soup with me. You have to leave this camp. I'll escort you. You cannot stay here. If the Israeli officials know that you're here, you can get up in jail a long time. He says, listen, I'm not leaving. You remember that soup I gave you? Now you owe me for that. I want you to go find out which families want to learn Torah. Give me a list, and I will help them. So Cholev says, listen, okay, you leave now, tomorrow I'll give you the list. And that's what they did. He came and he gave him 65 families that were in that camp that wanted to learn Torah. The Chazon Ish and Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky and Talmid Chacham, they got them all out and put them in religious communities and send their kids to yeshiva. And today, Baruch Hashem, these families remain Torah families, all from one bowl of soup. So you see what one bowl of soup can do. Sharing with another person is a big thing. And food can be a vehicle to great miswot. We move on from there to the 10 Commandments. Right? What are the 10 Commandments?
I am Hashem.
Right? Well, he says, I am Hashem. That's the 10 Commandments. That's the first of the 10 Commandments. Right? The first one is belief in God.
What does that mean?
Anochi Hashem Elokecha means you have to believe in God completely. And you have to give up your life for Him. What's the second commandment? Prohibition of idolatry. That you shouldn't have any avodah zarah. That is the second commandment.
It's basically all one thing, no? The third is basically...
Wait.
Explain one thing, please.
One is belief in God. I believe there's a God.
Okay.
2 is that you cannot have any other avodah zarah. You cannot believe in the dollar. The dollar gives you food. No. The belief is in God. That's avodah zarah. Believing the dollar gives you food.
People thought there was...
Rabbi Mizrahi was saying the importance of Shabbat. So he's like, the first 3 is by God. But the 4th one, Shabbat. That's why it's mentioned.
The third one, what's the third prohibition? What's the third commandment? Is the prohibition of vain oaths. Lo tisah Shem Hashav, right? Don't swear in God's name falsely. Which includes, by the way, true swears as well. For example, if a person says, I swear to you this chair is red.
It is red.
It is, but that's a swear in vain. It's an oath in vain. Because you don't have to say it. Everyone knows it's red. It's a vain doesn't mean that you're lying. Vain means it's not needed. Lying you're not allowed to do. Saying this is this, that's also not allowed to do.
So when can you say it?
Only when you're mandated by Beddin to swear about a case that's happening. For example, the witnesses, they need to come and stuff like that. Then you're required to swear. Otherwise, a person should never swear. What's the fourth? What's the fourth commandment?
Shabbat.
Shabbat. Keeping Shabbat. Zachor Yom Shabbat. Right? The Kaddishot. What's the fifth?
Don't your parents.
Kibud Avayim. Right? Kibud Avayim. Why is it in the first set of the Ten Commandments? Right? There's two sets. There's a 5 and 5.
Yeah.
The first 5 is Ben Adam Lemakom, between a person and Hashem, right? Believing in God, not having idolatry, right? Not swearing in Shabbat, and then Kibbutz Avayim is included.
It goes by the importance.
We're going to explain why.
Because
6. What's the 6th one? Which means don't kill. Pretty simple, but don't kill.
Sometimes hard.
What's the 7th? 7th is
don't steal.
adultery.
Yeah. The next
What's the 8th one?
Don't kill.
Stealing, lo tignov, but really meaning no kidnapping. Because later in Kedoshim it talks about it's regular stealing. 9 is
Don't be a false witness.
false witnesses, right? We talk about all the time about false witnesses, maybe like this, maybe like that. No false witnesses, it's straight in the Torah. They're one of the 10 commandments. What's the 10th one?
Don't want something. Don't be jealous.
Don't be jealous. Don't covet someone else's things. Now, let's explain a little bit about each, not each one, we'll explain some of them. We're not going to go through all of them. The first one is Anochi Hashem. The second one is don't worship idols. Now, Midrash Shir Hashirim says, out of the 10 commandments, which 2 were said by Hashem directly to the people? Very good. Everybody knows the first 2 were said by God. What happened during those first 2?
Died twice.
Everyone died, right? Everybody gone. Then Hashem, everybody came back alive, and then He said, "Don't believe in any idols." He kills them again.
The past were after the second commitment or after the first?
Both times.
1 and 2.
He said, "Anochi Hashem."
They died.
They died. He brought them back,
And the second one.
said it, and killed them again, and brought them back. So yeah, they remember it. Apparently, you get your memory back when you have Kriyat Amitim.
They remember the past two after the first one.
Yeah, because later on they would say to Moshe, stop Hashem, you talk to us because we can't listen to the guy who's going to die, and maybe we're not going to come back. That's what they meant.
If they died the first time, why did Hashem do it the second time?
He asks the question. He asks the question. Avram asks the question what we're going to talk about. Why did Hashem have to kill them? Okay, maybe kill them once. Maybe don't kill them at all. Hashem could keep everybody alive. Why? What was the whole point of killing them? Bring them alive. Killing them, bring them back alive. Why? Why is He doing that to them? We mention a lot of times when Hashem does something, there's a lesson to be learned. Right? You have to learn it through a Torah perspective. What's the lesson in this point of killing them and bringing them back alive? Killing them and bringing them back alive. The lesson that Hashem is teaching us, that true commitment to Hashem and the Torah requires us to give up our life. If a person really wants to believe in God, he has to be ready to sacrifice his own life. That's the lesson that we learn here. We learned that Hashem says, Anochi Hashem kills them. You should learn to serve me, you have to be ready to kill yourself. Don't serve idols. Not only don't serve idols, be ready to kill yourself and not serve an idol. That's the halakha, by the way. Right? One of the 3 cardinal sins is...
also, no? You have to kill, you have to die.
So it's just from these 2, we learn the rest. Hashem did it. He says that you have to believe in Hashem, and commitment in His Torah is one has to be ready to give up his life. We love bringing a little bit of a Hasidic story. So,
this is what they mean, right? What you said is the 3 things that person has to die and not another person. So this is what you said. It's one of them.
but the lesson is that you have to be ready to give up your life. Now, we have the story from one of the Lubavitcher Rebbes who lived in Russia. His name was Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson.
He's in Lubavitcher Kever. He's just the one on the right.
The Lubavitcher Rebbe was arrested in Russia. You know why he was arrested? He had a terrible, terrible sin. You know what he did? He was teaching Torah. He was teaching Torah, and so the communists, they arrest him. They arrested him because he was doing very, very bad things of spreading Judaism to the Jewish people. And they brought him into an interrogation. And they sat him down and they told him, we're going to let you go if you sign this document that says you're going to stop teaching Torah. So Rav Yosef Yitzchak said, I will not sign anything, I will never stop. So the guard gets up and he takes out his gun and he points it to his head and tells the rabbi, you see this gun? See this toy of mine? It makes a lot of people change their minds. They change their ideas just with this toy. And what does Rav Yosef Yitzchak answer him? He answers as follows. He says, that little toy can frighten a person who has many gods and one world. But I have one God and two worlds. Here and Olam Haba. So your toy means nothing to me. That is a person who's ready to give up his life for God. Kill me. I don't care, he says. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. He believes that there's one God and he won't go anywhere else.
But this is the halacha that he was supposed to die.
That I don't know.
Huh?
Yes, because it's going against religion, you have to give up your life. If the government is going against you because of religion, you have to give up your life. Okay. And that's for any mitzvah, by the way. There's 3 cardinal sins that you're not allowed to do. You have to always give up your life. Those are avodah zarah, shfichat damim, and gilai arayot. Right? If you have these 3, you have to. But if someone comes over and tells you, don't do brit milah, if you do brit milah, I'll kill you. Right? Because on purpose, because you're Jewish, they want to make you not do brit milah.
Don't wear tefillin.
You have to let yourself die because of that. Because they're going against your religion. That's halakha.
I didn't understand.
Meaning, for example, if someone's coming to kill you because you're a Jew, then you have to give up your life. They're telling you, they say, if you do brit milah, we're going to kill you. Because you're Jewish. We don't want you to do this. Right? So then, you have to give up your life. But if they say, don't do brit milah because of health reasons, and if you do, then you go in prison, so then, it's a different story. Right? Because then it's because of health reasons, not because they're going against your religion. I'm not here to answer these halachic questions. You have to bring us up to a Rav. I'm just explaining to you the ideas behind it. Now, yes, but there's certain things you have to die for. That's what we're learning here. Okay? So Judaism is not just always to live, because there's olam haba, olam hazeh, olam haba. Now, let us take a look. Let's take a look at Kibud Avraham. People have a very big minhag in Kibud Avraham, is that children don't listen to their parents. Children don't listen to their parents. And then when the children become parents, they, like their parents, tell their kids, listen to me. And then their kids keep up their minhag and don't listen to their parents. And it goes from generation, door to door, continuing this way. The door to door, it continues this way, that the kids won't listen to their parents. But B'ezrat Hashem, after listening to the 10 Commandments, person will change. The Gemara says it's one of the hardest mitzvot to do. That's what the Gemara says in Maseches Kiddushin. It says, Kibud Avraham, it's relatively impossible to do that mitzvah, because it's completely very, very hard.
By the way, Rabbi, kids think parents is only Abba.
Abba and Ima.
And also Ima.
Okay.
Right? It's part of the word parents, right?
That's right, that's right. Abba ve'ima.
Find out that. Okay.
It says kibud, it says kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. You can look in the parsha, Perik Chav, Pasek Yud Bet. It says kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. Now, and when it says by later on in the parsha and later on in the Torah, it says to fear. Who does it say to fear? It says fear your mom and then your dad.
Fear your mom, then your dad.
Okay.
But listen to your dad, but then your mom.
Do what your dad wants.
We'll explain why later on, B'ezrat Hashem. Now, we mentioned that the first 5 commandments in the 10 commandments were ben adam lemakom, between person and God. And one of them is kibud avraham. Is it really between us and God? Kibud Avraham? Kibud Avraham is between us and our parents. Right? So why does it put down in the 5 of Ben Adam L'Makom? The Gemara teaches us that when a person shows respect and honor for his parents, it's as if he's displaying honor to God. And the Sefer HaChinuch explains that a person must recognize and treat with loving kindness the people who treated him with kindness, and should not deny the great benefits he has received from others. A person cannot be a kafui tov, not appreciating someone else's kindness to him. This is an evil quality. Hashem hates it. It's an abomination to God. A person, you do something good for somebody, and then he slaps you in the face. Hashem hates those people. This is an evil quality. A person should realize that his father and mother are the cause of his being in the world. Not only are they the cause. If you think about it, now that I'm a parent, I see how much my parents went through. Kid stays up late at night. Kid doesn't eat, throws up, does this, does that. They start growing up. They ask. It's hard. And then when they grow up and they become teenagers, they start screaming and yelling at you. It must be a real pain on the parent's heart. They did so much, and this is what they get back in return. The Chai Adam explains an aspect of this kibud avayim that many people don't know. Kibud avayim doesn't just apply in what you do and what you say. Kibud avayim applies to what you think about your parents as well. He should think of them as great and noble people, worthy of honor and respect, even though their friends don't think that, your parents' friends don't think they're so special. Your mitzvah as kibud avayim is to think your parents are very, very special. Now, at times it may seem grossly unrealistic to consider one's parents to be special and holy people. A person should always remember that the Pirkei Avot says there is no person without his hour. That every person has that hour. They do some mitzvah very big, and they're considered very, very special in Shemayim at that time. So if a person cannot think the parents are holy, at least remember that Pirkei Avot that they could be, and they will be, B'ezrat Hashem, that they will have their hour. Not only that, if a person says, it's very hard to me to be looking at my parents, that they're very special, because I became a Baal Tshuva, I became someone more religious, and my parents are not. So Pam teaches this very important. He says, you should look at it the other way. The fact that your parents were zocha to you, meaning that they had you, meaning that they're special. The fact that you're religious means they had some zichut, that you became like that. So for that zichut that you became religious, you have to give them honor. Kibbutz avayim is not easy, but it's something that a person should always work on. The Gemara gives a classic example of kibbutz avayim. It says where one of the fathers came, took his son's money. He was a rabbi. He took his son's money, he took his whole wallet and threw it in the sea. Got rid of it, ripped it up and threw it out. If my father did that to me, I don't know what I'd do, right? But you can't do that. You have to calm down. And the rabbi didn't do anything. There was one guy who was sitting in the Senate. His mother came, slapped him up, threw pots and pans on his head, and he didn't do anything. That's his mom. That's how we're supposed to look at them, as angelic people. Yes, they have flaws. Completely understandable. They have flaws. You have flaws too. But the fact that they're your parents, a person has to respect them. Kibbutz avayim is a very, very hard, very rewarding mitzvah, as the pasuk says, "Laman yarichun yamecha." In order to lengthen your days, in order to make you live longer, a person does that. Therefore, Rav Moshe Meir Weiss, he says he doesn't understand why some men, when they get married, they don't let their wife visit their parents. He says, they say, "Oh, you have to come to my parents." They say. He says, if you want your wife to live long with you, right? What's the way? She should be mechabed her father and mother. So you have to bring it to her parents so she can be mechabed, so she can live longer with you. That's what Moshe Meir Weiss says. In case a person should let his wife visit her parents, even if they live in Israel, let them go, because then they're going to live longer with you. That's what the pasuk says.
If somebody lives far away from his parents, and he doesn't have the marriage to respect them like you need it, you know what I mean?
Person should do what he can. Call them Friday at least, if not every day. Call them for Shabbat, call them for Yom Tov. Speak to them, send them something. Tell them you're thinking about them. There are ways a person can do, and of course, when you have the time and you have the ability, you should go there. It's not. Sometimes it's hard. And sometimes Hashem puts us in situations that we don't have the zechut to do kibud av. Right? Yaakov Avinu is a prime example of that. Right? Esav was like aim. Yaakov didn't. But the person should do what he can to be mechabed his father and mother. Mechabed not only in good deeds, Your thoughts, like we mentioned. Think about your parents, very special. Talk about them, very special. And like this, you're mechaber them even from far away. Okay. Now, we're going to another prohibition of lo tignov. Person should not steal. Now, like I told you, Rashi quotes the Gemara in Sanhedrin that says that this is talking about kidnapping, that you're not allowed to steal somebody, because later on in Kiddushim, we talk about stealing regular money. But let's talk about some of the general aspects of stealing that a lot of people don't know. An example of this is when the Gemara in Bava Metzia says that it's forbidden to steal even if the person is doing so is simply to tease or annoy another person. Let's see an example. This type of behavior is common when someone wants to have some innocent fun, they call, at the expense of his friend. Listen to this. Listen to what Rav Pam brings down. He says, Reuben forgets his wallet on the table. In the shul, Reuben comes, he's praying, he puts down his wallet and his phone. He leaves it for a moment, he walks out to get a coffee, he comes back inside, and his wallet is missing. Right? Why? Shimon, his friend, saw this as an opportunity to have some fun. Now, Reuven comes back in, he sees his wallet is missing. He begins looking for it. He goes to the chairs, underneath, on the side, he looks in here, checks his pockets, goes back out, comes back in. After a minute or two, his face begins to portray panic as he's searching for it frantically. He starts asking everybody, did you see my wallet? Did you see my wallet? I had a lot of cash in it. I had a lot of money in it. I'm so scared. My driver's license, my bunch of credit cards. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, Reuben is in all this pain. Shimon is laughing. He's having the best time. Totally enjoying the spectacle of Reuben going crazy. When Reuben searches in a different corner of the shul, he starts moving around. Shimon quietly takes the wallet and puts it back on the chair. And he goes, Reuben, come here. Oh, your wallet is right here. How come you didn't see it? Open up your eyes. Shimon thinks that all this was just a bit of fun at Reuben's expense. Little does he know that he's actually sinning against one of the 10 commandments of not to steal. That was considered stealing. That was not fun. That was not games. Even if you turn it, that was considered stealing. The Gemara in Bava Metzia says that is stealing. So no more games like that. Okay? No more taking someone else's stuff, putting it in another pocket, changing other things.
It's not only wallet. It's everything.
Anything.
Anything, yeah.
Anything a person you take in order to play some games on him, you can't do.
It's not true that you brought it back?
No, because you were going to give it back in the beginning. The whole thing was like that. You want to know? It's not just for adults. Another scenario. Levi is babysitting for his 3-year-old nephew, Yehuda. Right? Levi has Yehuda, a nephew, and he's babysitting him. Yehuda's playing with the toy, and Levi takes it from his nephew with his right hand. The toddler reaches out to take it back, but Levi quickly puts it in his next hand. He plays with him like that, plays with him like that. The child then tries to grab it back, and Levi continues doing this. Finally, after this back and forth, right and left game, the child starts to burst in tears. Only then does Levi give back the toy. Does Levi stop for a moment to think that this little game is considered stealing? It's considered stealing.
If you
take from a kid,
baby, but you're playing with him sometimes.
Playing is different. They don't play. Playing means the kid's laughing. Why did you wait till the kid started crying? And then you gave it. Okay, man. Now take the keys back. Take this back. That's not playing. That's stealing. The kid really thinks that he's not going to get it back. That's why he starts to cry. Right? Kids don't have the understanding that you're going to give it back to them. They think once you took it, you took it. Therefore, it's considered stealing. You can take it and play with them, giving it back and forth. But to take it and make them... First of all, it's Sar Bal Chaim. They're a creature, and you're making pain to them, because they think they're not going to get it back. Then it's stealing. You're doing so many sins, and you thought you were just playing. A Jew has to think what he's doing.
Rabbi, what if the baby plays with your car keys and you need to go for his car keys?
So that's a good question. It's a good question, but it's not the kids, right? It's the adults. We're talking about the kids' toy. The kids' toy, and you took it.
Yeah, but the baby's going to start crying.
So you have to do it in a way that's not. You give them something else. You give them something else. You know, kids. Baruch Hashem, kids are very, they move from one thing to the next very quickly. You can take something and give them your phone, and then that's it. Like, I put my baby inside the playpen, she starts to cry right away. She doesn't like staying in the playpen. So what do? You press a button, this thing starts to sing, that thing starts on, and then they forget that they want to leave, and they stay in the playpen. So there are ways you can get your stuff back without making the kids cry. You should try it. Because remember, the child is a child. And I'm waiting for that point. Then we'll have to figure out something else.
Guys, take some cake over here. Guys.
Okay. Remember, we're eating Le'ili Nishmat.
Zoya Batsara.
Zoya Batsara.
Mazmi.
If you eat, you make her neshama go higher. So there's no reason why not to. Now, another example of stealing that people don't think that they're doing, when someone decides, I'm going to steal in order to teach my friend a lesson. What happens? One person has a friend, right? Let's say Yisachar, he's a very careless person. Everything he has is all over the place. Here, there, sitting there. Oh, he doesn't know where anything is. So Zivulun, his good friend, says, you know what? I hate seeing Yisachar lose his stuff. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take one of his things that he thinks he lost, and I'm going to hide it. And then I'm going to give it back to him and tell him, be more careful next time. And he went and he did that. You're not allowed to do that. Even to teach him a lesson, that's still considered stealing. Another form of stealing that people don't understand
But
is...
it's not applied parents to kids.
No, that's chinuch.
Chinuch,
But, that's chinuch, that's fine. But another subtopic of stealing is genevat dat. When you're stealing knowledge. What does that mean? Doesn't mean you go on Wikipedia or something like that. No, what that means is as follows. It's called conning a person.
Cheating on the test.
Right? When you con somebody, or a con man, that's what they call them, right? Con man. What does a con man do? He comes over to you, he sweet talks you, he's a nice guy, he shows him all these things, he does all these things, and then he makes him invest in his business, steal his money and goes. So that's just stealing money, but also was stealing his knowledge. Because he thought you're a real good guy. Or a person, you want him to do a favor for you. So that day you become his best friend, you buy him a sandwich, you give him something like that, and then you tell him, give me something, right? That's getting about that. That's stealing. Because you really don't want to be his friend. You're only making him think that you're his friend. Conning him, even if it's something small, is considered stealing. The Gemara brings a story of two rabbis. They were walking on the way. They were going to the city, and another rabbi was coming that way. And the one rabbi meets the two rabbis, and he tells the two rabbis, oh, you didn't have to come out to greet me. Oh, thank you so much, but you didn't have to come out to greet me. So one rabbi turns, and one of the rabbis tells this guy, listen, the rabbi, we did not come out to greet you. We were walking this way anyway. So the second rabbi turns to the other rabbi and says, what are you telling him? Why are you making him feel bad? He says, if I don't tell him, it's going to be genevat dat. He's going to think he owes me because we came out to greet him. I cannot make him think that he owes us. That's part of genevat dat. It's stealing someone's thoughts. It's stealing of thoughts.
What if?
Now, the only time you don't have to tell somebody the truth when they're assuming something, it's only if you're going to embarrass them. He brings down a case of Rav Pam. Rav Pam's father traveled to America in the early 1900s to get a job as a rabbi here. And then he was going to bring in his family. When he was in America, one of the women in Europe came to his wife and said, listen, we're having a lot of problems. Can you please tell your husband, to look for our cousin, Kohen, living in America, he's a wealthy man, to send some money to us. Now, Rebbetzin Pam, she never sent her husband any information, because she said, America is huge, she doesn't even know where the address is, doesn't know nothing, I'm not going to bother my husband. And then this woman passed away. They came to ask for help. When Rebbetzin Pam came to Menachem Avol to visit the mourners, one of the daughters got up and told Rebbetzin Pam, thank you so much. Our cousin in America sent us the money. You're so great, you're so good. And Rebbetzin Pam said, I'm sorry, but I never had anything to do with that. At that point, the daughter who got up to thank her got all red in the face and sat down. She was embarrassed. She was thanking her so much. And so Rebbetzin Pam, for the rest of her life, was always trying to find out if she did the right thing or the wrong thing. So Rav Pam writes that she really didn't have to say anything at this point. Even though it's genevat da'at, says, but it's worse if you tell her the truth because then she's going to get embarrassed. You should let her know some other time that it really wasn't me, but not right then when she came over to you and said, oh, thank you, and you embarrassed her by saying, no, it wasn't me. So a person has to understand you cannot mislead or fool people. And, one of the famous cases of Geneva Dat is a person who walks around all religious, right? He has peyot, he has a beard, he puts on a hat, he's having a big, very long, rekel, right? He's wearing a very long coat, and he's shaking back and forth, and he's praying from 10 sidurim, and he's learning all night and day. But really, on at home, he's doing all sorts of averot. That's stealing from people's knowledge, because people think that you're tzaddik, they're coming over to you with this and that, and you, meanwhile, the worst person alive.
Who got embarrassed, Rabbi? Who got embarrassed? The lady that she kept saying, oh, thank you.
Yeah, she got embarrassed.
Why she got embarrassed?
Because she went over and thanked her so much in front of everybody, and then you say, no, it wasn't me.
She's supposed to get embarrassed that she said, it's not me, so she's not supposed to get embarrassed.
I would get embarrassed. Imagine you come in, and I say, Rami, you're such a great guy, you helped me, and everybody's there, I'm like, this guy, he's so mad, and then you say, no, it wasn't me, I didn't have nothing to do with it. I'd be like, you feel like you're out of place. You want to hide somewhere. I made a huge mistake just now. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be there at that time. So, at that time, you can do nothing. You just do nothing at that time. If you're going to embarrass that person, later on, you let them know the truth. You have to let people know the truth. You cannot be
if you don't say anything, and then people are going to think that you get the credit. You're not supposed to get the credit for something you didn't do.
Later on, you'll tell people. You have to explain that.
You're not going to remember every single person who was there to go, it wasn't really me.
Make it known. It'll become knowledge, public knowledge. Another thing, for example, if someone comes over and tells a guy, you're a big Talmud Chacham, you finished 2 Masechtot, right? You finished 2 Gemaras. The guy only learned 1. He has a chiyuv. He has an obligation to say, no, I only learned 1. You cannot let someone else think that you learned more than you did, because you're fooling them. Same thing as anything else. You cannot fool people. That's part of stealing. Another aspect of stealing is gezel sheina. Anyone know what gezel sheina is? It's stealing someone else's sleep. You cannot walk into a person's house and start knocking when you walk into home to wake everybody up. It's stealing a person's sleep. Chavetz Chaim brings it down. You cannot steal someone's sleep. You have to let a person sleep. If he's sleeping, you have to let him sleep. Unless he asks you, or time for tefillah is coming, or stuff like that, then you have an obligation to wake him up. But otherwise, you have to do everything in your ability to let that person continue sleeping. It's considered stealing from him. He's sleeping and you're stealing from him his sleep now.
What if you really need something in
I had
there
a question
and they're sleeping there? So you need that thing right now. Something's going to happen if you don't get it.
The story was like with the man with the gold, I'm going to buy this, and the kid didn't want to.
Yeah, you see, he didn't wake him up.
He didn't wake his father up.
He could have made huge money. Nothing more important than that. Okay?
I had a question.
Yes.
So me and my friend went to 1 o'clock at night. We're driving in neighborhood, very narrow area. If you're gonna honk, it's gezel sheina.
Right, you're waking people up.
But what if you're driving and all of a sudden cat coming and you in situation, or you're gonna honk, or you're gonna just hit her and whatever. You have chances to hit her.
I honestly don't know the answer, because then the question is,
It's the
life of the cat,
or gezel sheina.
So
kill the cat.
I don't have an answer, but this is my thought process. My thought process is that it's not a definite that people will wake up. It's a sveika if the people are going to wake up, because they're sleeping. Most people, when they sleep, they're sleeping deep. They won't wake up from a one horn. They wake up if you horn, bang, if you do it enough times. One horn, one honk is enough to save the cat and not wake up the people. So in my thought process, I would honk. Whether halacha goes with me or not, I don't know. That's a question for a Rav. But that's the way I'm thinking. You understand what I'm thinking? It makes sense. I mean, that's what I would do if I was at that point. But now that we can ask somebody that knows his halachot, and we can get an answer on that. Because then again, you also have the animal, and you have people. So people go before animals, right? But then again, it's sleeping and killing, and it's possibility and not a possibility. So there are many variables in that. All right.
That's all part of kidnapping, right?
That's all part of stealing.
Like the Gemara said, right? Like,
Yeah, a lot of different parts
stealing
of
is kidnapping.
Right.
Kidnapping means all this.
all these other forms of stealing. Okay, now we come to one of the other, and one of the most hardest of the 10 Commandments, which is lo tahmod, right? Don't be jealous of someone else's stuff. It's a very big one. In fact, the Ibn Ezra says that how could God really expect us not to be jealous of other people? He says it's natural, right? It's a natural desire for people to be jealous. You see something someone else has and you want it. So the Ibn Ezra comments as follows: that a peasant may long to marry, right? A farmer can long to marry the next girl that lives next door on the other farm. But he'll not even dream of marrying a princess, right? Disney movies don't happen in real life. So a farmer won't end up marrying a princess. And he knows that. And he doesn't fool himself into thinking he's going to marry the princess. So too, if one were to understand that what God gave him is his, and what God gave someone else is foreclosed to the other person, he would not ever desire something that he can never get. A person has to have faith in Hashem, that Hashem gives everybody what they need. And therefore he'll never come to be jealous of somebody else. Jealousy can kill people. But a person has to understand that it's not mine. It's all mitzvot are really like this. A person, the Beit HaLevi explains that, has a person have to look at jealousy? The person has to look as if he's driving down a road, and he sees a beautiful, lush field and cows and everything, and he wants it all. And at that time, his car gets into an accident, right? He's like about to get into an accident. So what are you worried about? You're worried about your car. It's the same thing as like that. Jealousy is the accident. You're seeing everybody else's stuff, and when you want, that's the accident. Would you want to get into an accident? No. So therefore, a person shouldn't be jealous, he says. And he brings down a story from the Sfas Emes. The Sfat Emet related that as a child, his grandfather, the Chidushei Harim, took him to the city of Kotsk. One day, while he was in the city of Kotsk, what happened was the Kotzker Rebbitzin, she was in her house and she was looking around at all the stuff, and she started complaining. She started saying, we're losing a lot of things from this house. People may be stealing from here, and all the people that come to visit the Rebbe, they may be taking stuff while they're walking out. So the Gabbai, Feivel, he gets up and says to the Rebbe, listen, what do you expect? Everything here is in the open. Of course somebody's going to steal something. The Kotzker Rebbe was sitting in his office, in his study, learning, and at that time, he started to scream. And you know what he screamed? He says, why shouldn't they steal? Because the Torah says so. Because the Torah says you shall not steal. The Sfat Emet says, for the rest of my life, I always heard that scream in my head. And never was jealous of anybody else's stuff, and never wanted to ask someone else's stuff. The Sfat Emet is when the Kotzker, when he heard the halakha, you shall not steal, that's it. That's the halakha. How can I do anything else? And people will come with the questions, if I have to go to the hospital on Shabbat, just to visit a friend, can I drive a car? But it's important that I visit a friend. Or I want to go to shul to say Kaddish, it's very far, can I drive a car? No, because the Torah says you can't drive a car, that's it. There's no other question. If and, buts, or whys, it doesn't exist anymore. Torah said it, that's it. There are no other excuses. One guy tells me, I got invited to Brooklyn for Shabbat, but we're ready Shabbat at the time that I was ready to go. But I didn't have any food at home, so what type of Shabbat that's going to be? So I drove. What is that? The Torah says you can't drive, it's asur. So you have no food. So you won't get the mitzvah of a positive commandment of eating food on Shabbat. And even if you don't have food, I'm sure in your house you're going to find a wafer, you're going to find a sardine, you're going to find something that you can eat on Shabbat. You don't have to eat it. Not only that, you go around in shul, you can ask somebody, maybe have a place for me. People are willing to welcome you in your house. You don't have to drive a car on Shabbat. There's no excuse. The person, for example, you didn't light your candle on Shabbat on time, right? You have to light candles. Let's say Shabbat came already. What are you supposed to do at that time? You didn't light yet?
Nothing.
You don't light. That's it. You might think, Shabbat needs candlelights. How can I have Shabbat? No. You're right. You need your candlelights. You're too late. That's it. It's Avirah to light the candles now.
Some people postpone Brit Milah, which falls on Shabbat, so the relatives that are not religious won't drive to shul. Is that possible or?
No, that's not possible.
He says halakha. It's a possibility. One time I heard from him. Brit Milah, we know we're not allowed to postpone.
Right, you're not allowed to postpone.
Even if it fell on Yom Kippur, even if it fell, he said, he faced a situation like this. I hope I heard him right. That for sure, the people are going to come on Shabbat with a car. You know that? you allowed to postpone the brit for Sunday?
One of my friends did it. So
Okay, if there's a possibility,
You know for sure people gonna come because of Shabbat.
yeah,
because
they're
of
gonna
the brit.
drive. They
You're gonna
drive in
drive,
Flushing. Yeah.
and you have a chance to make a man Chayil Shabbat.
So much fun.
okay, it's possibly, I don't know. You have to ask your local Orthodox rabbi before you do such a thing. You have to ask your.
It's 90.
I mean, he's not.
We have to. You have to ask your local Orthodox rabbi before you do such a thing. Even though it's okay, if it exists such a halakha, yes, then that's the halakha. I know when we did my Sheva Brachot on Shabbat, and some of my relatives, both on my side and my wife's side, they wanted to come in for Shabbat. We knew they were going to drive, so we called them and told them, "You're not invited. Please don't show up." They got upset, but what do you want? We'd rather not have Averah on our head, and that they came because of us. And sometimes when you can do for Brit Milah, you can, maybe tell them that it's not going to happen, or do it privately in your house, or something like that, so people won't come. You know,
You can tell them, come, let's sleep.
Serious.
or invite them, and give them a place to sleep, place to go, and tell them not to go. You know, one time my father was invited to a something on Shabbat, and he went there, and a lot of people drove in. He didn't know that, and he comes there, and now he gave him to speak. And so instead of speaking about the Hatan and Kala, he said that if you now are going to drive back on Shabbat, it's as if you took a Sefer Torah and you ripped it up, and you burned it, and you shot it, and you took a rabbi and you killed him, and he scared them like this for an hour, and then nobody went back on Shabbat. They all waited till Havdalah, and then they left. Maybe it was only for that week, but even if that's enough, as long as one Shabbat was kept. Every minute they do a mitzvah is good. The person has to know. There's no excuses there. Now, a second story that they bring down is the story. There was once a great scribe, Sofer. His name was the Or Pnei Moshe. And when he passed away, he had 3 tefillin that were left over in his workshop. And the Rabbi Nachum Mendel of Kotsk, he collected all the money he had. He didn't have a lot of money. He collected everything he could find and sent a Hasid to go get him that tefillin, to buy it. And when the Hasid came back to the Rebbe, he told the Rebbe, "Listen, Rabbi, I'm very sorry, but on the way here, I got very jealous. I love this tefillin also so much, so I put it on without your permission. Now here's your tefillin." And the Rabbi Nachum Mendel of Kotsk said, "Listen, if this tefillin made you sin by being jealous, then I will never put on this tefillin. This is for you to keep." A person cannot have jealousy. A person cannot go that far. We have time. We have like another 10 minutes. Yep. A person has to understand that jealousy goes a far way, and you have to stay away from jealousy in all aspects. In all aspects. It's hard at times. And it's especially hard when people have more than you. And it's hard for you to do things. But a person has to understand that Hashem knows what's best. Yeah, he has a special tefillin. He had his own tefillin. He wanted special ones. Okay. Now, usually we don't get up to the Haftorah, but this week we'll look a little bit into the Haftorah. So the Haftorah is found on page 1154 in the Stone edition. And we mentioned in our Gemara classes that the Haftorah is somehow always related to the Parsha. Right? There's a connection between the Parsha and the Haftorah. The obvious connection of page 1154. This is the Haftorah Yitro. It comes from Isaiah or Yeshaya, right? Yeshayahu. And in this Haftorah, we have the famous line from Nagdishach, right? It says in Pasuk Gimel Haftorah, "V'kara ze hazeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzevot Melech ha'aretz kevodo." What's going on? What did Yeshayahu see in his nevuah? He saw the Maaseh Markava. He saw the chariot of God and the angels surrounding it, and the way the angels were praising Hashem, and the way the angels were escorting God and talking to God and praising Him and lauding Him and doing all these things. Now, if you look in Pasuk Hey, this is what Yeshayahu now says. Va'omar oy li ki nidmeti. Then I said, "Woe is to me, for I shall die. For I am a man of unclean lips, And I dwell among the people of unclean, for my eyes have seen the King Hashem, Master of the world. Yeshayahu is saying, wow, I just saw this phenomenal view of what's going on in the Shemayim. I'm not worthy for this. I'm going to die. Rav Pam brings down the Dubno Magid on this parasha. And the Dubno Magid says, don't read, Oy li ki nidmeti, that means, oh, to me that I'm going to die. He says the word nidmeti can also be, in Hebrew, like the word dimyon. What does dimyon mean? Illusion. Right? Dimyon means an illusion, a mirage. Yeshayahu was saying as follows. If you read it instead of death, you read it as illusion. Yeshayahu was saying as follows. After seeing the greatness of the angels, he realized that he had fooled himself of thinking that he was a tzaddik. After he saw the holiness of the angels, he realized that he himself was nothing. He's the big time, the big rabbi in the whole community. And now he says, after seeing the angels, I realized that I was nothing compared to the angels, how holy they can be. The Maggid, in his classic manner, explains the pasuk with a parable, with a story. He says, in a small town, one of these small towns, there's a lot of unlearned people, a lot of unlearned Jews. They didn't know too much Torah, they never learned Gemara, they never learned Chumash. There was one person who filled the role of Rav. He was the scholar and resident on all matters of Jewish law. If a person wanted to know when he had a yortzart, right, when he's going to make Yeshua for somebody, Askara, they came to this man and he would tell them this and this day. They asked him on which day Rosh Chodesh will be. He'll tell them. They wanted to know when the local boy will become bar mitzvah, what parsha. He knew. The learned rabbi knew those stuff. All similar questions were referred to him, and people called him Big Rabbi. It once happened that this rabbi had to go on a little business trip to one of the bigger cities. And he goes to this big city, and it's time for minchas. He says, where is the shul? They say, oh, this is the shul of the shoemakers. A lot of shoemakers pray in the shul. Go there. He goes in there, they pray mincha, and after mincha, the rabbi gets up to give the Torah. And what are they learning? They're learning Mishnayot. Right? If you learn Mishnayot, I think if you learn one every day, you'll end up finishing Mishnayot in 4 years or something like that. You learn two, you finish in 2 years.
One Perik or?
One Mishnah.
Oh, yeah?
4 years, I think it is. Someone once told me that. 4 or 5 years. So they do Mishnayot. The Mishnayot, they do between that, they do Mishnayot. He's sitting there, and he's a rabbi of his town. He's sitting there, he doesn't understand one word. He said, what are they talking about Mishnayot? What's this? What's that? So he gets up and he goes to another shul. They tell him, oh, that's the blacksmith shul. He goes there and they're doing Eyon Yaakov, Ein Yaakov. What's Ein Yaakov? The Agadata, the story portions of the Talmud. He sits there and he doesn't understand them either. He tried the shul of the butchers, where another basic text was being learned. He didn't understand anything either. Leaving the shul, he cried out, Oy li ki nidmeti. Woe to me, I was fooling myself that I'm a rabbi of my town. And I'm answering all their questions. Meanwhile, I know nothing. I'm totally unlearned. Only slightly better than the people that are sitting around me in the shul. They know nothing. I know Aleph, so he thinks he's a rabbi. During the years before World War II, Rav Pam davened in a little shtibel in Europe. Now, shtibel didn't have a Rav. They didn't have a rabbi there. The shul had a gabbai who ran the minyan. He had one gabbai, he was running the minyan. How did the gabbai know what to do? He had his Sefer Chaya Adam, which is a halachic text for Ashkenazim, that goes through basically what you have to do throughout the year. He took care of all the rabbinical functions. When there was a proposal to hire a Rav, when the community decided they want to hire a Rav, he said, listen, I have the Chaya Adam, I have the halachot sefer, what to do. True, there's a lot of Rashi Tevot, there's a lot of acronyms in there. They don't put sometimes all the Hebrew words. They put 2 letters and 2 lines on top. So instead of saying Rabbeinu Tam, writing it out, they put a resh, 2 lines, and then a taf, Rabbeinu Tam. He says, it's true, I don't understand the Rashi Tevot. I don't understand the acronyms. But is it worth to hire a rabbi just because of the acronyms? That's what he used to tell everybody. So they never hired a rav in that shul. One year, the first night of Pesach fell out on Friday night. Now the question is, do you say Magin Avot, like we say every Friday night, right? The Chazan after says Vayichulu, he says the Baruch Atah, he goes through a whole small mini Shmona Esrei, right? Me'en Sheva, right? But the question was, you have to say Magin Avot or not. Some people said, yeah, I have to. Some people said, you don't have to. Actually, it's Machloket Halacha Ashkenazim, I believe, Erev Pesach night. So, Ashkenazim, I believe, Ashkenaz do say it. Sfarad, Chassidim and Sfaradim, we don't say it. But he's looking, and this was a Chassidish shtibel. There were, so not supposed to say it. So he says, I don't see anything about Magen Avot. He says, all it talks about is Ma'ayan Sheva. He thinks Ma'ayan means wells. He says 7 wells. I don't understand what 7 wells is about. Rav Pam was in the middle of Shmoneh Esrei, so he couldn't tell him anything. What is Ma'ayan Sheva? It's not Ma'ayan Sheva. It's Me'en Sheva. What's Me'en Sheva mean? How many berachot are in the Shabbat Shmoneh Esrei? 7. So that mini Shmoneh Esrei is called Me'en Sheva. It takes all and makes it 1. Which is the halachic name for the Magen Avot Tefillah that is recited after Friday night. And on the first night of Pesach, which falls on Friday night, you don't say it. Because why? It's Leil Shimurim. One of the reasons why we say Magen Avot on Friday night, because we know that the damagers, the Shadim, or whatever it is, are outside Friday night. So we're scared people might come late to shul, and they might leave alone afterwards. We don't want them to walk alone outside, so we prolong the Arabit prayer by saying this Magen Avot, so the latecomers can finish up with us and walk outside at the same time. Well, Pesach night is Leil Shimurim. It's a night of watching, so we're not so worried about it. So therefore, we don't say Magen Avot. And this guy didn't know. At this point, Rav Pam said that Gabbai should have said, "Oy li kinizmeti." I was fooling myself the entire time.
So they were supposed
to
say
say not supposed to say it.
Oh, that was fine, yeah.
They were Sephardic. Right, I believe Ashkenaz says it. I think so. If I remember correctly learning it, that's what it was. But like one rabbi once said, the only person you're going to end up fooling is yourself. And when you start fooling people are smart enough to realize that you're fooling them eventually. The only person you'll really have fooled is yourself. That's it. The powerful message of Navi Yeshayahu's words needs constant study. A person can easily fool himself into thinking, the little knowledge that I have, that I went to yeshiva for a few years, I went to 1 lecture, I went to 2 lectures, I'm already smart, I already know, I'm already very religious. I already could be a rabbi. He starts answering questions, and he opens up his own synagogue, and he makes his own things. This is a very tragic mistake. A person must constantly strive to grow higher and higher in Torah and Avodah. In fact, the more one learns, the more he realizes he knows nothing. Every time you learn more and more, you're like, wow, I didn't know that. Really? There has to be much more things I don't understand. He realized that even after a lifetime of learning, he's only scratched the surface of the infinite wisdom of Hashem's Torah. This humbling thought of being forced to come to bitter conclusion of this illusion that we put up should make us think and make us learn more Torah and improvements in our mitzvah observance and in our service to Hashem. Do not fool yourself into thinking that you know everything and you're good and you don't need to learn anymore. And we concluded what we wanted to learn. And again, everything that we learned should be in Lili Nishmat Zoya Bat Sarah. And it should also bring us the Havda Ben Chaim L'Chaim. It means the difference between people that are alive and other people that are alive in Olam Haba, we mentioned. And Olam Hazeh should bring us Hatzlacha, Veracha, Parnasa, Rufuah Shleimat, anybody who needs B'ezrat Hashem. And may our learning be zechut to bring Mashiach closer and closer. Meher b'yameinu.
Amen.
Baruch. How no one really so much Torah. Jesus Christ at the surface.